Now that Netflix has teased us with the release schedule of the final season of Stranger Things, we think it's a good idea to know about some interesting facts about the show before it says goodbye forever. If you think you know everything there is to know about Hawkins, the Upside Down, and our favorite kids, then you might want to stick around. We're about to pull back the curtain on the show that took the world by storm. So here are 30 insane facts that will make you see Stranger Things in a whole new light. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Hello?
The truth is stranger than fiction. Before Hawkins, Indiana ever existed on a script page, the Duffer Brothers were digging into some real-life history. The entire foundation of the show, with its secret labs and kids with psychic powers, was heavily inspired by a CIA project called MK Ultra. If you've never heard of it, MK Ultra was an officially sanctioned program that ran from the 50s to the 70s. The government was trying to figure out mind control, using methods that were as unethical as they were bizarre. They experimented on people, sometimes without their consent, using everything from hypnosis to psychoactive drugs like LSD. The goal was to create a truth serum, or even a programmable human agent. Sound familiar? Dr. Brenner and the Hawkins lab are basically a fictionalized, more cinematic version of this dark chapter in American history. The inspiration didn't stop there, because they also pulled information from the Montauk Project, a whole collection of conspiracy theories about a government based in Montauk, New York, where people claim secret experiments in time travel and psychological warfare were happening. While the Montauk Project is more folklore than fact, it provided the perfect blueprint for a story about a small town with a very big, very dark secret buried underneath. The show almost nobody wanted. It's hard to imagine a world without Stranger Things, but that reality was incredibly close. When the Duffer Brothers first started pitching their idea, they were met with a tidal wave of rejection. They were turned down somewhere between 15 and 20 times by various networks. The feedback they got was consistently discouraging. Executives were confused by the concept. They'd say, "So, it's a show for adults, but the main characters are kids? That won't work." Others thought the tone was all over the place. Was it horror? A coming-of-age story? A sci-fi mystery? They couldn't just fit it into a neat little box. They were told to either make it a straightforward kids show or cut the kids out and focus on Harper's investigation. But they stuck to their guns, believing that the unique blend of genres was the show's greatest strength. Finally, Netflix, which was still building its library of original content, saw the potential. The babysitter who refused to die. Steve Harrington, the man, the myth, the babysitter. In Stranger Things, he went from a walking 80s movie jerk to everyone's favorite mom of the group. But here's the crazy part. None of that was supposed to happen. In the original script for season 1, Steve was a one-dimensional antagonist. He was meant to be the stereotypical arrogant jock who was so unlikable that the audience would be cheering for his demise. And die he would. The plan was for him to meet a gruesome end at the hands of the Demogorgon in the season finale. But then, Joe Keery happened. Everyone was so blown away by Keery's performance and the unexpected charm he brought to the role that they couldn't bring themselves to kill him off. Keery played Steve with a subtle insecurity and a spark of goodness that wasn't on the page. Just think, we almost lived in a world without Steve. The Waffle Windfall. Eleven's obsession with Eggo waffles is memorable from season 1. It's her first taste of simple, comforting food after a life of lab experiments. But her love for those frozen, toaster-ready treats didn't just stay on screen. It had a massive impact on the world. After Stranger Things premiered, the Kellogg's company, which owns Eggo, noticed something strange was happening with their sales figures. They were going up significantly. The show never had an official product placement deal with them, since Eggo's was picked because it was a popular food from their own childhoods. The public's renewed fascination with the waffles became so apparent that by the time the Super Bowl rolled around in 2017, Eggo released a commercial that was a direct parody of Stranger Things. The show had single-handedly made a decades-old breakfast food cool again, proving just how powerful its cultural reach was. It's what you might call the Eggo effect. The Girl Who Lived. It seems that the Duffer Brothers have a habit of falling in love with their characters. Just like Steve Harrington, Max Mayfield wasn't originally supposed to make it out of her season alive. When the writers were mapping out the epic, heartbreaking storyline of season 4, the plan was for Max to be Vecna's final and permanent victim. Sadie Sink, who plays Max, even said in interviews that she was preparing for a definitive end. But just as the writers developed the season, they had a change of heart. They felt that killing Max after putting her through so much was just too dark, even for them. So they came up with a compromise. Vecna would still technically succeed in stopping her heart, but 11 would use her powers to bring her back. Billy's unscripted breakdown. One of the most intense and unsettling scenes in season 3 is the sauna test, where the group traps a mind flayer possessed Billy to try and force the monster out. It's a raw, emotional, and violent confrontation, and much of its power comes directly from actor Dacre Montgomery. While the basic actions of the scene were scripted, Montgomery had the freedom to improvise and explore his torment. The most powerful moment, where Billy, trapped and weeping, starts screaming about what the monster is doing to him, was largely unscripted. He even added the desperate cry for his mom, a detail that wasn't in the script. Hopper's secret message. Chief Jim Hopper is a man of few words, but his actions often speak volumes. A very touching detail about him is the secret knock he shares with 11 at the cabin. That knock, pause, knock, pause, knock is not just a random pattern, it's Morse code. The sequence translates to S-A-R-A-H, the name of his deceased daughter. This little detail, which is never explicitly explained in the show, is a beautiful piece of storytelling. It's Hopper's way of keeping Sarah's memory alive and passing on a piece of his heart to his new family, all hidden in a simple knock on a door. The lie behind the waffles. On screen, 11 would probably walk through fire for a box of Eggos, but in real life, Millie Bobby Brown absolutely can't stand them. She has described the experience of shooting those scenes as pretty gross. The waffles were often cold and soggy from sitting under the studio lights for multiple takes. To get through it, she had a spit bucket waiting for her just off camera. She'd take a big bite for the shot, act like it was the most delicious thing in the world, and then as soon as the director yelled cut, she'd spit it all out. 11's anime ancestor. One of the key influences for 11 comes from a completely different world, Japanese anime. 11 was heavily inspired by a 2004 anime series called Elfenlied. The show's plot is shockingly similar. It follows a young girl with psychic powers and a numbered designation who escapes from a secret research facility. Like 11, she is a silent but incredibly powerful weapon, and she's caught between her violent instincts and her desire for human connection. From unknowns to millionaires, the success of Stranger Things has been life-changing for everyone involved, especially its young cast. When the show started, most of them were complete strangers, pun intended. For season 1, the kids were reportedly paid around $20,000 to $30,000 per episode, a nice sum, but pretty standard for new actors. Fast forward to today, and those numbers are almost unrecognizable. As the show exploded into a global phenomenon, the cast renegotiated their salaries multiple times. For the 5th and final season, the paychecks are astronomical. The kids are reportedly earning over $7 million each for the entire season, and the adults, Winona Ryder and David Harbour, who were already established stars, are at the top tier, pocketing over $9.5 million each. The heroic end of Bob the Brain. Bob Newby, played by the legendary Sean Astin, was the lovable, nerdy guide of season 2. His heroic sacrifice at Hawkins' lab is a very devastating moment, but originally, his role was meant to be much smaller and far less sympathetic. Initially, it was planned for Bob to be killed off much earlier, around the 4th episode. The original idea was for a possessed William Byers to murder him. He was written as a bit of a placeholder, someone for Joyce to date, who the audience wouldn't get too attached to. However, just like with Joe Keery, Sean Astin's performance changed everything. I mean, come on, it's Samwise Gamgee we're talking about here. He brought such warmth, sincerity, and pure likability to Bob that the writers couldn't bear to give him a silly end. They gave him a true hero's death, allowing him to save everyone before being tragically torn apart by demo dogs. The show's original name and place. Before the show was called Stranger Things and set in the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana, it had a completely different identity. The original working title for the series was simply Montauk. This tied directly to its early conceptual phase, where the story was set in the location of Montauk, New York, leaning heavily into the conspiracy theories surrounding the supposed Montauk Project. The original pitch document even described it as a story taking place at the very end of Long Island. But with the development of the story, the location was changed. The monster from the manual. The name of the show's first monster, the Demogorgon, wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It comes directly from the holy bible of 80s nerds, Dungeons and Dragons. In the very first episode, the boys are finishing up a D&D campaign where they faced off against the Demogorgon, described as a powerful demon prince with 2 heads. When a monster from another dimension starts terrorizing their town, they do what any imaginative kid would do. They name it after the monster from their game. It's a perfect piece of storytelling. A name that's a number. Eleven's name is quite a mystery in the first season. We know her as Elle, but where did that come from? The answer is literally tattooed on her arm. The 011 on her wrist is her designation from the Hawkins lab. It means that she was the 11th test subject in Dr. Brenner's experiments. This simple detail tells us so much about her past. She wasn't given a name, just a number, reducing her from a human being to a mere asset. Her journey throughout the series is one of reclaiming her identity, moving from being a number to becoming Jane Ives and finally Jane Harper. But it all starts with that tattoo. A cruel prank. The Duffer Brothers are known for being pranksters on set, but one of their most elaborate jokes was played on Noah Schnapp's mom, Karen. During the filming of season 1, when Will Byers is still missing, they decided to have a little fun with the incredibly realistic prop corpse of Will. They called Noah's mom over to a dark closet on set, telling her they had a surprise for her. When she opened the door, she was greeted by the horrifyingly lifelike dead-looking body of her own son. Understandably, she completely freaked out. Hopper's legendary weapon. In the season 4 finale, when Hopper, Joyce, and Murray infiltrate the Russian prison to fight the Demogorgons, Hopper grabs a massive sword to defend himself. It's an epic, cheer-worthy moment, but that sword is more than a random prop. It's a piece of Hollywood history. The sword Hopper wields is the actual Atlantean sword used by Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 1982 movie Conan the Barbarian, and its sequel, Conan the Destroyer. Being massive fans of 80s action films, the Duffer Brothers specifically requested it. David Harbour was apparently like a kid in a candy store getting to use the weapon. A love letter to the 80s. A defining feature of Stranger Things is its loving commitment to the 1980s. Every frame is packed with references. The movies the kids watch, like The Thing and Ghostbusters, directly influence how they see their own adventures. The music, from Kate Bush to The Clash, so much nostalgia. The D&D games, the walkie-talkies, the wood-paneled station wagons, and the fashion are all meticulously recreated. For those who grew up in the 80s, it's a trip down memory lane. For younger audiences, it's a cool retro world to discover. The search for the party. Casting the main group of kids was arguably the most important task the showrunners faced. The entire series would live or die on their chemistry and talent, so the casting directors started a massive continent-spanning search. In total, they auditioned more than 900 boys and more than 300 girls for the roles of Mike, Dustin, Lucas, Will, and Eleven. The creators had the young actors read scenes from the 1986 classic film Stand By Me, another story about a group of kids on a life-changing adventure. Dustin's real-life condition. Dustin Henderson's cutest feature is his distinctive smile, with his missing front teeth, of course. But this wasn't just a quirky choice invented for the show. It was written into the script after the creators met Gaten Matarazzo. Gaten was born with a rare genetic condition called cleidocranial dysplasia, which affects the development of bones and teeth. During his audition, Gaten was open about his condition, and people were so impressed with his talent and positive attitude that they decided to incorporate it directly into Dustin. In the show, Dustin even explained the condition to some school bullies. Monsters made by hand. In an age where CGI can create almost anything, Stranger Things often goes old school with its effects. The original Demogorgon from season 1 was a physical monster on set. The creature was brought to life by an actor named Mark Steger, who wore a complex practical suit. The suit was equipped with animatronics to make the creature's head petals open and close. While CGI was used to enhance the creature and clean up certain shots, having a person in a suit on set gave the actors something to react to, making their fear all the more convincing. Winona forever and first. When the character of Joyce Byers was being written, the writers had only one actress in mind, Winona Ryder. For them, she was the dream choice. Winona Ryder was a big star of the late 80s and 90s, starring in films that influenced the tone of Stranger Things, like Beetlejuice and Heathers. Having her in the show would be the ultimate stamp of 80s authenticity. They wrote the part with her voice in their heads, but they never seriously thought they'd get her. To their surprise, when they sent her the script, she loved it. She was their first and only choice, and securing her for the role was a major turning point in the show's development. It gave the project instant credibility and attracted other talented actors to join the cast. Millies Mad Max Makeover. Who remembers Bald 11 from season 1? We all do. It's a bold look, especially for a young actress. When Millie Bobby Brown and her parents were told about the role requiring her to buzz off all her hair, they were understandably hesitant. To convince her, she was shown a picture of Charlize Theron as the badass Imperator Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road. They told her, "See how cool she looks? You're gonna look just like that." That single image was all it took to get Millie on board. The man in the monster suit. The practical Demogorgon suit looked amazing on camera, but wearing it was an absolute nightmare for the performer inside, Mark Steger. The suit was incredibly heavy, hot, and restrictive. To make things worse, Steger had to wear stilts to give the monster its unnatural height, which made moving around incredibly difficult. The animatronic head was also remote controlled, meaning he couldn't see very well out of it. The conditions inside the suit were so taxing that he could only wear it for about 20 to 25 minutes at a time before needing a break to cool down and rehydrate. The show was supposed to ditch the cast after season 1. Believe it or not, the story of Eleven and the gang was supposed to be a one-and-done deal. The initial pitch from the Duffer Brothers was for Stranger Things to be an anthology series. Each season would have been a self-contained story with a new set of characters in a different time period. After the Demogorgon was defeated, the show would have moved on, leaving Hawkins behind forever. But once they brought the cast together, everything changed. The creators saw how perfectly Gaten, Millie, Finn, Caleb, and Noah worked together, and knew it would be a huge mistake to let them go. So they threw out the old plan and bet everything on the Hawkins party we know today. A game played by the book. The Dungeons & Dragons sessions in the show aren't just genetic fantasy role-playing. The writers and prop masters went to great lengths to ensure that the campaigns the kids play are based on D&D modules that were published in the 1980s. For example, the campaign from season 1 that introduces the Demogorgon is based on the classic expert set rules. In season 2, when they add Max to the party, they're seen playing with the Ravenloft module. This attention to detail delights old-school D&D fans. The E.T. connection. The kids riding their bikes through quiet suburban streets on a mysterious adventure is pure 80s magic, and these scenes are a deliberate and loving homage to Steven Spielberg's E.T., the extraterrestrial. Think about it. A group of kids befriends a mysterious, powerful being and must protect it from shadowy government agents, often using their bikes as their primary mode of escape. The parallels are unmistakable. The producers have openly stated that E.T. was one of their biggest inspirations, and the bike scenes are their way of tipping their hats to the film that defined a generation of cinema. The font with a feeling. The font used for the Stranger Things logo is called ITC Bengyat. The title sequence creators, the studio Imaginary Forces, presented the Duffer Brothers with over 20 different logo options. They settled on Bengyat because it perfectly captured the specific feeling they were going for. The font was designed in 1978 and was used everywhere in the 80s, from the covers of Stephen King novels and choose-your-own-adventure books to the title cards of classic films like The Goonies. It instantly evokes a sense of both adventure and horror, a feeling of something classic, familiar, and just a little bit unsettling. The terrifying world of Silent Hill. The Upside Down is a visually stunning and horrifying location in television, and the inspiration for this dimension came from a very specific source, the hugely popular survival horror video game series called Silent Hill. In the Silent Hill games, the protagonist often shifts between the real world and the other world, a rusty, foggy, and monstrous version of reality. Producers loved this concept of an alternate dimension that is a dark reflection of our own. The floating ash-like particles in the Upside Down are similar to the fog and snow that famously covered the town of Silent Hill. Bob's brilliant brainstorm. Remember that incredibly charming scene in season 2 where Bob Newby tries to help Will, Mike, and Joyce figure out the map of tunnels Will has been drawing? Bob, looking at the scribbles, confidently says, "What's at the X? Pirate treasure?" It's a perfectly dorky moment, and it was completely improvised. Sean Astin, who famously played Mikey in The Goonies, couldn't resist throwing in a reference to his most iconic role. In The Goonies, his character is obsessed with finding pirate treasure marked by an X on a map. Everyone loved the ad-lib so much that they kept it in the final cut. A win for the whole team. While individual actors have received plenty of nominations and praise, one prestigious award celebrated the cast as a whole. In 2017, following the massive success of the first season, the Stranger Things cast won the Screen Actors Guild (SAG) award for outstanding performance by an ensemble in a drama series. This award is special because it's voted on by other actors who recognize the skill it takes to create a believable and compelling group dynamic. Winona Ryder's emotional and wonderfully chaotic acceptance speech became an internet sensation, but the win itself was a powerful validation. Marvelous verdict. Just imagine if this show had never been made. That would have been so upsetting. There's still a few months left before the release of the final season, and I think we all should binge the last 4 seasons ASAP. Anyways, did you like all 30 facts? Do you have some of your own that we missed? Let us know in the comments below, and see you next time with more such marvelous videos. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe, and thanks everyone.